Well, we are still contemplating that question. Where are we, and how do we know that we've arrived at that place that is beyond existence, beyond Satchitananda, beyond the movement of life, so wonderfully and poetically called by Rumi, the ground of unknowing, where the rose always blooms. So there's a reminder of 3 little stories, and when we put their chemistry together, let's see what they evoke in us relative to this question. First, there's the story of the woodchopper who'd gathered a load of wood and laden it on his donkey and was making his way home when he had to follow a very precipitous path around a mountain, and as they rounded a bend, the load of the donkey slipped and all of the wood fell to the ground. Well, it so happened that there was another traveller passing by and asked the wood chopper, "Can I help you to load the wood, and what will you give me?" And the wood chopper said, "I can give you nothing." So the traveller helped the wood chopper load the wood back onto the donkey, and then the traveller said, "Well, now give me my nothing." And the woodchopper said, "Well, I told you I can give you nothing, and that's it." But the traveller wasn't at all pleased, so he hauled the woodchopper off to the magistrate, who happened to be Mullah Nasruddin. And they presented their case to the mullah, and the mullah said to the traveller, "You see that rug over there? Go and lift the corner and tell me what's under there." And so when he did, the mullah said, "Well, what do you see?" And the traveller said, "I see nothing." And so the mullah said, "Well, take it and go, that's your payment." And then the second story is about that rabbi. You know, he was in the synagogue alone, up at the rostrum, and with the holy book opened in front of him. And he came to a passage in the book that brought tears to his eyes, and the tears were streaming down his face, and he raised his arms to heaven. "I am nothing. I am nothing." Well, as he was going through this, the cantor happened to enter the side door and see the rabbi in this state of ecstasy, and went over and stood beside him, and he got caught in the ecstasy too. "I am nothing, I am nothing." And then the janitor, the sweeper, came in, and he saw the rabbi and the cantor in this state of bliss. So he too raised his arms and said, "I am nothing, I am nothing." And then suddenly the cantor came out of his ecstasy, nudged the rabbi and said, "Look who thinks he's nothing. Look who thinks he's nothing." Then the final story, the old story about that king who always insisted that everyone bow down before him with their head on the floor when he entered the room. And so he called a great reception for all his people, and as was the custom, as he entered in his regal robes, everyone bent down with their head on the floor, except an old hermit who was standing over in the corner. And when the king saw this old man standing there, not giving him obeisance as was demanded, he got very angry. So he went over to the old man and he said, "Only God does not bow down before the king, and nothing is greater than God. Who then are you?" The old hermit looked the king in the eye and said, "I am that nothing." So we have these three stories: nothing, and nothing, and nothing. What do they evoke in you relative to this question? Where are we? How do we know that? That's beyond movement. There are certain signs and indications that we've been talking about in the stories. But what do these three evoke in us? Nothing, nothing, and nothing.
A reminder of that saying about those that know.
Yes.
Those that don't know say, and those that
Yes.
know don't say.
Exactly, that's a beautiful Sufi saying, isn't it? It's like that. And yet, unless we do claim it, you can see for yourself as you explain that state of confusion or doubt. In one place, we have the sense of, I have no home, I don't belong anywhere. And yet to arrive at a place and say, have that feeling that this is peace, this is home. How do you equate these two? How do you reconcile this?
Well, you know, I read something the other day. It was one of the Hermetic principles of duality.
Uh-huh.
And it says that that, you know, in the created world, everything has a duality, and there's no two ways about it. It's all about degrees. You know, so love and hate are the same thing. It's only by degrees. And so, you know, and the end of the little phrase about that, you know, saying about, you know, there's love and hate, there's hot and cold, and it's all by degrees. And at the end it said, thus by all paradoxes are reconciled.
Uh-huh.
And it's, yeah, I mean, to me it just came, well, it's all one anyway. So like, it's like that 50 Shades of Grey. Sorry to bring that one up, but you know, like how many shades or how many expressions or how many infinitesimal expressions of that, and yet it's all still the one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can define gradations, but somewhere along the line it's just all one anyway, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what was I trying to say?
But is it all shades of grey, or is it all shades of black, or is it all shades of light, or is it all shades of white?
Yes, that's right. It's only degrees, isn't it? And so in that polarity, if it's only degrees, it's all one. So, yeah.
And when you take all colours and put them together, what do you get?
For some reason, the nothing reminds me of the meal bird. The instrument of our discomfort nothing, feeling like nothing,
Uh-huh.
can also be the instrument of so much relief.
Relief and yes,
The
liberation.
not having to know, the being lost in the mystery of it all, the
Mm-hmm.
knowing without the knowing.
Exactly, exactly.
And it's all, the nothing can do all of it to us. It can break us apart and make us scared, or it can unburden and enlighten us. It's
Yes.
the same instrument.
Instrument is.
It's that duality again.
Yeah, it is. Diametrically opposed truths.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
When paradoxes resolve themselves.
Yeah.